United States will send the world's largest aircraft carrier to the Middle East to back up another already there, putting more American firepower behind President Trump's efforts to coerce Iran into a deal over its nuclear program.
Ladies and gentlemen, this wasn't an accident. They planned this. They pushed lies, they manipulated the briefings, and they tried to trap President Trump into a war he didn't want, using the oldest trick in the deep state's playbook. Feed the president fake intelligence, corner him with no options, and then blame him when it all blows up and explodes. But today, he flipped the script. Because just hours ago, President Donald J. Trump stood before the world and exposed the backstabbers by name. He called them out, he shattered their plan, and then he took full control of the war.
The USS Gerald R. Ford's planned deployment to the Mideast comes after Trump only days earlier suggested another round of talks with the Iranians was at hand. Those negotiations didn't materialize.
And this morning, Iran's supreme leader issuing a threat of his own. Quote, more dangerous than that warship is the weapon that can send that warship to the bottom of the sea.
I would say they're bad negotiators because we could have had a deal instead of sending the B-2s in to knock out their nuclear potential, and we had to send the B-2s. I hope they're going to be more reasonable.
This is the end of the regime, and we see a lot of leaders from all over the world, on one hand saying that regime change is ideal for them, and then on the other hand claim it's sort of legitimate by potentially negotiating with it. We're saying enough is enough.
President Trump told reporters Friday he believes regime change in Iran would be the best thing that could happen.
For 47 years they've been talking and talking and talking. In the meantime,
the traitors inside the Pentagon exposed, the holdovers from the Obama-Biden era named, the media mouthpieces who covered it all up, they're shaking. And now, with the skies over Iran under full American control, Trump has turned what they intended to be his downfall into the single greatest military reversal in modern history. But here's the kicker, guys. We just got new intel that proves that the setup ran deeper than anybody imagined. Oh, and wait until you hear who's been advising Iran behind the scenes and why Trump may be preparing to drop the bunker buster bomb of all bunker buster bombs. Do not blink, guys, because this isn't just a war for the Middle East. This is a war for the soul of the republic. And Trump, he just took the wheel. Now, of course, I want to share with you guys this leaked memo that proves the sabotage, how Israel's secret intel changed everything, and why President Trump's next move could make or break the empire. Please hit the like button, subscribe, buckle up, guys, because they set him up. But now he's coming after every single one of them.
Typically, Iran's a very tough negotiator. They're good negotiators or bad negotiators. I would say they're bad negotiators because we could have had a deal instead of sending the B-2s in to knock out their nuclear potential, and we had to send the B-2s. I hope they're going to be more reasonable. I don't think they want the consequences of not making a deal. They want to make a deal.
So here's what they're not saying right now. Here's what CNN will never admit, and what the American people were never supposed to find out. This war, it wasn't Trump's plan. It was a trap, carefully laid, strategically timed, and executed from within the very government President Trump now leads. And now the names are coming out. The files are leaking, and the playbook, it's been torched.
Images of military drills by Iran's Revolutionary Guard in the Straits of Hormuz. The exercises, overseen by General Mohammad Pakpour, aim to prepare the guards for potential security and military threats in the Strait, after the U.S. deployed a large naval force to the area.
So, according to multiple senior officials, President Trump was being deliberately misled in the days leading up to Israel's lightning assault on Iran. We now know that key intelligence reports were altered, toned down, twisted, or timed to deceive. Who did it? Embedded operatives from the Biden-Obama era, still lurking in the Pentagon, still pulling strings in the State Department, still whispering in the ears of NATO's war planners. Some of these names were familiar globalist advisors who once crafted Middle East strategy for Obama. Others were career intelligence analysts with decades of deep state loyalty. And their plan? Get Trump surrounded. They told him Iran's defensive capabilities are low. Israel's just retaliating. We're advising de-escalation. All lies.
Iran and their proxies who have threatened to retaliate against you for taking out Soleimani?
Well, they haven't done that, and that would be a terrible thing for them to do, not because of me. If they did that, they would be obliterated. That'd be the end. I've left instructions. If they do it, they get obliterated.
Meanwhile, Israel was already preparing wave after wave of missile strikes. Iran was stockpiling long-range weapons, and nobody told Trump the full story until it was already happening. Why? Because they thought if they forced Trump into a corner, he'd react just like Bush did with Iraq. Sign off, send troops, own the chaos. They thought it would destroy him politically, drain his base, rip apart his America First coalition. They thought wrong. When every dollar matters, guys, saving a few $100 isn't just nice, it's survival. Nancy, 78 years old and living on a fixed income, she said, hey guys, Chapter just saved me $600 a year. With my rent at $1,510 a month, that savings may be what lets me stay in my home. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that information and that amazing story, Nancy. Carolyn, she had a little bit of a different crisis. She said Chapter saved me from $4,000 in medical expenses. Wow, guys, these are not small wins. These are life-changing. So whether it's cutting costs, getting coverage, or just understanding your options, Chapter's licensed advisors, they can walk you through it all. And they've helped out a lot of people absolutely for free. Give our friends a Chapter call right now. Phone number is 909-563-8279, or visit them on the web at askchapter.org/Ron. Link in the pinned comment or description down below. Guys, it's not just about Medicare. It's about freedom. It's about dignity. It's about staying in control and not overpaying. Now, we now have leaked internal memos, documents that were never meant to see the light of day, guys. Inside these documents, we're already seeing casualty projections that are so low that they're laughable, strike impact reports showing best case scenarios only, and worst of all, briefing materials that omitted Iran's full missile and drone capabilities by design. This wasn't incompetence. This was information warfare aimed directly at the President of the United States. In one explosive closed-door meeting, a top advisor reportedly said on the record, "You're boxed in, Mr. President. You have no choice." Think about that. Like, not here are your options, not let's go ahead and weigh the risks here, but you have no choice. That's not national security. That is a coup in slow motion. And Trump, he knew it. He walked out that room. He didn't give in. He didn't launch their war. Instead, he went straight to the people. He pulled the ripcord, so to speak, and we're going to get to that in just a moment. But first, I want you to understand that these people didn't just try to manipulate the situation. They tried to eliminate his ability to act freely as a commander-in-chief. They wanted Trump trapped in a never-ending war, one he didn't start, one that they would ultimately blame him for. But they underestimated him because what Trump did next completely unraveled their plan. He didn't just survive the setup, he used it to seize total control.
We just crossed the border and are now inside of Iran. The Iranian government has granted us a visa to come here and to report from the Islamic Republic of Iran. We're now trying to make our way to the capital of Tehran as fast as possible. But of course, the distances in this huge country are immense. In total, the Iranians are saying that they can continue this campaign for a very long time. They say that their missile arsenal is still immense.
Oh, really?
CNN's back in Iran.
Fairly good progress towards Tehran. It is a very, very long drive, though.
Which is interesting because my texts still haven't been delivered to my family members because there's a regime-imposed internet blackout. But CNN has been able to report from inside the country and has been allowed to send their footage out to a U.S. news network.
So the gas stations, there's no long lines as gas stations. Fuel seems readily available.
I think one of the reasons there aren't long lines at the gas stations is because, and I'm going out on a limb here, a lot of people are staying inside because the country's getting bombed.
Well stocked, even with fresh things like, for instance, fruits and vegetables.
Yeah, the shelves are probably pretty stocked because most people can't afford groceries right now.
So, of course, I want to talk about how President Trump took back the war room, ripped up the script, and unleashed a new doctrine that terrified the people who set him up in the first place. And wait until you hear what President Trump revealed on Truth Social just moments before launching a wave of orders that shocked even the Pentagon. They thought they had him. They thought that the war would break him. They miscalculated everything. But instead, President Trump broke the entire system that tried to trap him. And it began with a single post, a post on Truth Social, mind you. So get this. While the media screamed reckless, while State Department insiders panicked, Trump took to Truth Social and he buried it all to the ground. Guys, he said, "We were lied to," he wrote. The people advising me were not advising me." You see what I'm saying here? They were advancing their own globalist agenda. These are Trump's words, straight from his Truth Social post. So that was the shot that was heard around the world. He followed that post with a live briefing from the White House, where he announced something that nobody saw coming. "From this point forward, I am assuming direct command of strategic operations. No more games, no more filters, no more swamp." The swamp didn't know what to do. Cable networks, they cut the feed. Foreign leaders scrambled. Even members of Trump's own cabinet got blindsided by this. He wasn't just rejecting their war, he was rewriting it, and he did it in real time. So within 3 hours of that announcement, Pentagon insiders confirmed President Trump issued direct orders to reassign battlefield authority to a hand-picked team of generals, leaders who had been essentially blacklisted under Biden for being too aggressive, for being too patriotic, or for being too aligned with Trump's America First vision. So gone were the briefings filled with fear. Gone were the layers and the lawyers telling him what he can and can't do. Gone were the red lines written by think tanks and foreign lobbyists. In their place, brand new doctrine: decapitate, not escalate, crush, don't occupy, win fast. He scraped the previous limited response plan and replaced it with a decapitation strike doctrine, an aggressive new playbook focused on eliminating Iran's leadership communication centers, neutralizing long-range missile hubs, disabling nuclear infrastructure through bunker-busting precision, not boots on the ground. And this wasn't just some theoretical strategy. This was put into motion immediately. American B-2 bombers were rerouted mid-flight. Refueling tankers were launched from Ramstein and Diego Garcia. The stealth drone squadrons, many previously grounded under the last administration, were activated and deployed to the Persian Gulf. So make no mistake, Trump didn't just take back control. He weaponized the betrayal and he turned it into a kill switch. Now, this is the part that really shook Washington, D.C. to its core, guys. Because President Trump didn't just hint. He didn't just suggest. He named names. He put people on blast. Okay? And what he exposed, it wasn't just betrayal. It was premeditated political treason designed to start a war, kill American credibility, and destroy Trump's presidency from within. So I want to walk you through exactly who he called out and why. In a press Q&A conference following his war briefing, Trump dropped this list. Not some vague they, not the usual deep state, actual people on the record, on camera. First, he named Gregory Sims, a senior strategist who served under Biden's NSC and remained as the nonpartisan advisor inside of CENTCOM. Well, Sims was reportedly the main conduit between between European diplomats and American military planners. And he pushed for NATO's emergency consultations before President Trump even authorized the action. Second, Trump exposed Ambassador Laura Peterson, a longtime UN envoy who had been coordinated the back channel diplomatic messaging with EU war planners behind President's back. So he said she didn't just lie. She actively worked with foreign allies to shape American military response without my approval. Third, he called out two unnamed senior officials from the Defense Intelligence Agency, accusing them of withholding real-time Iranian satellite activity and presenting altered imagery in briefings. What the heck? Yeah, seriously. So according to sources, Trump privately referred to this as the most coordinated inside job sabotage since 2016. But it didn't stop there, guys. Because while these operatives were moving behind closed doors, the media was running interference. Trump specifically called out CNN for spinning pre-strike footage to make it look like Trump had instigated the conflict. The Washington Post, which reportedly received embargoed military intel 48 hours earlier and chose to publish a misleading timeline suggesting Trump's orders were reckless and unprovoked. And let's not forget about The Atlantic, whose anonymous sources, forgot the air quotes, were traced back to a PR firm hired by one of the defense contractors Trump just cut from the future Middle East bids. So I want to repeat this. A defense contractor losing money under Trump was allegedly feeding stories to journalists designed to frame him as unstable and dangerous. Clearly, there's a motive right there, right? Well, the guy who just cut off your funding, you're now trying to clearly retaliate against him and drag his name through the mud, right? So just when the smoke was starting to clear, a whistleblower steps forward. Now, according to this insider, network producers were given talking points directly from staff inside the Pentagon, warning them not to report Israeli aggression and to focus coverage on Trump's unpredictability. And now you understand the setup. I think it's pretty clear what they tried to do here, right? They didn't like want a clean win. They didn't want American strength. They wanted a quagmire, a political obituary with Trump's name on it. That's what they wanted. But Trump ripped the veil off and let these people see the machinery. So now that the masks were ripped off and the plot was exposed, Trump didn't just sit back and gloat. He moved quickly. Within, hours of naming these traitors, President Trump issued a series of orders that would shift the balance of power, not just in the Middle East, but across the entire geopolitical map. So let's break it down, because this moment right here, guys, this, in fact, was the turning point of the war. So you're not going to hear this from the mainstream media, but, the skies over Iran, they belong to the United States of America. According to confirmed defense briefings, over 75% of Iran's surface-to-air missiles systems were neutralized in the first wave. Tehran's radar grid was decimated by stealth drone formations in under 6 hours, and Iranian aircraft grounded or destroyed before they could even leave the runway. So think about it, right? Trump now controls Iran's entire airspace without putting a single American boot on the ground. And he did it by activating a capability only the U.S. possesses: the full stealth dominance of the B-2 Spirit bombers, the RQ-170 drone fleet, and electronic warfare squadrons that haven't been used at this scale in nearly a decade. All of it deployed under Trump's direct authorization, bypassing layers and layers of bureaucratic BS, delay, and swamp oversight. This isn't Iraq. This isn't Syria. This is full spectrum dominance at this point, guys. And Trump made it happen in under 48 hours. Now, I want you to remember this name, okay? Operation Rising Lion. Now, this was Israel's covert joint operation with the United States, originally limited to strategic strikes on military sites. But once Trump took control, that limited mission evolved and it exploded into a multi-phase offensive targeting Iran's entire war infrastructure. Phase 1, missile suppression. Phase 2, leadership isolation and bunker penetration. Ladies and gentlemen, according to the multiple sources very close to this operation here, okay, U.S. Special Forces are now operating deep inside Iranian territory. Their objectives: intercept communications, extract intelligence, and neutralize nuclear transport convoys before they disappear into underground networks. Guys, we're talking about hard surgical strikes, not occupation. Trump's mission is clear: eliminate the threat, crush the regime's tools of terror, and leave nothing behind that could be used against us again. And he's not playing defense anymore. He's writing the rules now. This is where every talking head, every retired general on cable news, and every keyboard warrior on corporate media gets it wrong. They keep shouting, Trump's leading us into another Iraq. This is just Bush 2.0. Stop. Because this war, guys, it's nothing like Iraq. And President Trump, he's made that painfully clear in his words, his orders, and his doctrine. So let me break it down for you real quick, because once you see the difference, you're going to understand why the swamp is terrified at this point. Under Bush, the playbook was invade, occupy, nation build, bleed resources, watch it collapse. Under Trump, it's one word: decimate. His directive is brutally simple. We're here to finish what Obama and Biden made worse, and then we leave stronger. So no more permanent bases, no more democracy tours, no more contractors making billions off the rubble. Trump's orders to the Joint Chiefs, they were crystal clear. No American troops used for occupation, no long-term entanglements, no precision air power, covert intel ops, and technology-driven strikes. None of that. And it's working. Iran's top leadership is in hiding. Their nuclear convoys are being tracked by AI drones, and not a single U.S. platoon has been deployed to secure a street corner. This is a clean war engineered by a president who's learned from history and refuses to repeat it. So let's not sugarcoat this, guys. They wanted Trump caught in a quagmire. They wanted Trump weakened, isolated, and drowned in a war that they could ultimately blame on him. But instead, he brought a hammer. He exposed the setup. He unmasked the insiders. He vaporized the middlemen. And then he hit back harder than they ever imagined. This isn't just military dominance. This is clearly strategic revenge. And the best part, the very people who tried to trap him are now exposed, they're discredited, and they're running for cover. The swamp wanted chaos. Trump gave them consequences, and now even his critics are going quiet. Adam Schiff, silent. Jake Tapper, avoiding the topic. Lindsey Graham, suddenly rethinking strategy. Because when Trump took control, he didn't just save the mission, he saved the narrative. And he made it impossible for them to sell another forever war. You see what I'm saying here? So when President Trump took control of the war, it didn't just send shockwaves through Washington, D.C. It set the entire global order into panic mode. And the reactions from our so-called allies and rivals, let's just say that the silence is deafening. And the backroom whispers, absolutely chilling, guys. So I want to go ahead and start with the collapse that nobody's talking about right now. NATO. Hours after Trump's bunker buster strategy was confirmed, NATO leaders held an emergency video session. The goal: contain Trump, rein him in, or at the very least, distance themselves publicly while begging for restraint. But behind closed doors, France and Germany are melting down. Why? Because internal NATO cables now leaked. They are showing that they were caught completely off guard. They had assumed, like everybody else, that Trump would be too cautious, too boxed in, too domestically vulnerable to act boldly. They thought wrong. Now they're scrambling. Germany has sent emergency arms shipments to protect its embassy in Baghdad. France has grounded all diplomatic flights near the Red Sea corridor, and internal EU briefings are warning of possible regime collapse in Tehran within days, not months. But here's the part nobody expected. Privately, they admit Israel did most of the initiating. So one senior European diplomat reportedly told Reuters this war was already in motion. Trump just took control before it controlled him. And that's the real reason that they're panicking. Because Trump didn't start the fire. He just commandeered the fire truck and is now driving it straight through the old world order. But the real story, guys, is the silence from Beijing and Moscow. China issued a 2-sentence generic statement urging all parties to show restraint. Russia? Nothing. Not a single official comment from the Kremlin, the foreign ministry, or Russian press. And in the world of geopolitics, silence like that is louder than bombs. Why? Because both nations know exactly what's happening. Iran is collapsing faster than expected. Trump's rapid control of airspace took away their leverage. And any open alliance with Tehran would now make them targets of U.S. intelligence operations. To put it simply here, they expected a prolonged, chaotic American misstep. Instead, they're watching a surgical American success, and that is what scares them. Because the Trump doctrine isn't just rewriting the rules of war, it's proving that strong leadership beats globalist paralysis every single time. And now we've reached it, the end game. Because while the globalists whisper, the media backpedals, and foreign leaders scramble, Trump just issued the most consequential warning of his presidency. And make no mistake, this is not a bluff. In a statement released from the White House early this morning, President Trump issued a final, non-negotiable ultimatum. Tehran, they have hours, not days. Surrender your nuclear ambitions, dismantle Fordow, evacuate Natanz, or you will not see sunrise as a regime. Not sunrise. And it's not just rhetoric. Satellite surveillance confirms B-2 bombers armed with bunker-busting GBU-57 MOPs are in flight rotation over the Gulf. Stealth drones are circling enrichment convoys near Esfahan, and the underground sites of Fordow and Natanz are fully locked into U.S. targeting systems. Why these sites, though, right? Well, it's because Fordow is buried under a mountain, once thought invincible. And Natanz is the core of Iran's uranium enrichment program. Under Obama, these facilities were left alone. Under Biden, they grew. But under Trump, their time is measured in hours. Let's be crystal clear about what's happening here. The people who set this up failed. The intel officers who altered the reports exposed. The foreign policy experts who pushed for entrapment, they've been silenced. And the media megaphones who tried to paint Trump as unstable, now broadcasting in whispers. Because Trump didn't fall for the trap. He torched the trap. He took their war, hijacked it, and re-engineered it on his terms. And so what they meant to use to destroy him, he's now using it to reshape the global order. And the American people are behind him. If you are, drop a 47 in the comments, guys. His approval is climbing. The markets, despite volatility, are holding firm. And even some former critics are now admitting, maybe he was the one that was telling the truth all along. You don't say, right? So Trump is now commander-in-chief, fully unchained, master of airspace strategy and message, and the man who just proved you can fight back against the deep state and still win. So the next time they tell you Trump's out of control, I want you to remind them who really lost control. The backstabbers, the bureaucrats, the media, the foreign manipulators, all of them. Because they set him up. But now he's calling the shots. This isn't just about Iran. This isn't just about war. This is about who actually runs this country. And today, for the first time in a long time, that answer is clear. We the people through Donald J. Trump. So if you're proud of how President Trump just flipped the script, I want you to like this video, share it before big tech buries it, and drop a comment down below. Do you trust Trump's endgame, or is the deep state planning another move? This ain't over, guys. It's just the beginning.